These are investments. So that's why in my list of apps, the top 5 are the ones I suggest teachers get first. And you can just go gradually, like one at a time, and then get the honorable mention ones. So my app library has built extensively through the years, and students love them. I have students that might not want to play, board games or that kind of thing, but they love competing with each other in like the app called Ningenius, which is a very theory-focused app.
Hey there, I'm Rachel Ehring, and you're listening to the Top Music Piano Podcast. Get inspired as we discuss creative resources, trends in piano pedagogy, ways to grow your income and streamline your studio, and new ways to engage your students each week. If you are a teacher who wants to go beyond the method books to create an innovative studio that fosters lifelong music makers, you've come to the right place. Hello, piano teachers. I hope that you are doing well today here in the middle of October already. Today's episode is a little different than the last 2 that you might have heard in our series on technology. Those were a little more philosophical, I would say. But today I'm talking with Sarah Molenaar all about apps. And she shares all of her favorite apps to use with piano students, as well as apps that she uses for herself. This episode is super practical. If you're already using apps with your students, you will likely learn about a new one today that you might want to try. Or if you are new to using apps, Sarah shares some of her favorites for getting started. Here's a little about Sarah before we get into the episode. Sarah Molenaar is a pianist, teacher, and author. She has performed solo recitals, released several albums, and participated in masterclasses by internationally recognized pianists. Holding advanced performance diplomas and a Bachelor of Music degree, Sarah is a certified teacher recognized for her student successes in competitions and exams, as well as her own awards for teaching excellence. She's the author of the Advanced Piano Technique book with companion volumes in progress, and has also created arrangements for piano for hands, including You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which I think I need to check out. Here's my interview with Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit today, and we're going to talk about apps and using apps in the teaching studio. But before we get into that, could you introduce yourself and just share a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I'm a pianist whose career kind of comprises primarily of teaching. I do some coaching of new teachers, some performing, arranging, and composing. And I became the author of the Advanced Piano Technique book in 2023, and I'm working on a couple companion volumes presently. So my studio's in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I teach about between 25 and 30 students a week who range in age from about 7 to 70, and from absolute beginner through about Royal Conservatory of Music diploma level.
Wow, great. Okay, so you have all ages, all ranges. That's great. I probably saw it when I was doing research, but I forgot about your technique book that you had written. That's really cool. We're doing a technique episode or theme in a couple of months here. I maybe should have saved you for that, but that's okay. We're going to talk about apps today. Can you give us a little bit of history of how you got to where you are today as a teacher and what influenced you?
For sure. So when I was in high school, music was a subject that I absolutely loved. So I pursued it as an undergraduate degree. I received a Bachelor of Music in Music Education, because I had such inspiring teachers throughout my youth that I thought classroom teaching was what I wanted to do, until I started volunteering in the classroom and I found I could not handle 30 children at once. So I then went to music admin. I worked as a manager of a music lesson center for 5 years. And I found even in that I was needing some more control of my life, some choices, because I still had managers and the managers had managers, and there became a lot of rules. And I thought, well, I'm going to be brave and run my own show. So that started in 2015. So I have been full-time self-employed ever since. So this is my 10th year, but I have been teaching part-time since I was 18 years old, because that was a better paying job than lifeguarding. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I was a lifeguard in high school. You're right.
The lifeguard was like $14 an hour and piano teaching was 18. So I went, well, I'll try piano teaching. But I had no training when I started. And so this is what I'm trying to provide to upcoming teachers now is some mentorship, some guidance, because I was also lost.
That's so great that you're teaching them what you wish you would have known back then, right?
Yes.
How do you connect with those young teachers and what do you have available? How are you coaching them?
Many of the teachers that I'm connecting with have actually been students of my own that have reached a level of piano proficiency and age to be appropriate to consider teaching. So in the Royal Conservatory system, that's around grade 9 or above. And I'm looking at a level of maturity before I even propose the concept. Or some students have found me from my website, my Instagram, socials, whatever, and have inquired and are like, I could use some help on maybe exam preparation and such. So my website has fairly good SEO.
So I recently downloaded a free resource. I don't even know where I saw it, but it was a free resource about apps to use with your students. And I thought, I need that because I have a few apps that I've tried with my students and some of them are great. I remember maybe like a year ago, I wanted to kind of dip my toe into the apps. And so I posted in a Facebook group, what apps do you love? And I got a ton of comments. There were a few that kind of kept coming up, but I really enjoyed going through your resource. And so I thought we could talk about it today. So first of all, how are you using apps with your students? Is it in your studio? Do you send them home with the app? How do you do it in your studio?
So primarily I teach private lessons. I have yet to embark on the group format, but maybe in the future. So in a private lesson, primarily for children under the age of 14, I incorporate a lot of off-the-bench activities. Now, within the off-the-bench activity are games, listening to music, history, theory, etc., and apps. So apps is possibly 5 minutes of the lesson, could be slightly more, and I have a plethora of apps depending on what I feel like the student could use improvement on. Or sometimes the student loves an app so much that they just keep wanting to do it. And when it comes to note recognition and like rhythm tapping and listening, I absolutely love apps for that purpose because it makes it so much more fun than flashcards that I grew up with.
Yes, I agree. And I've noticed with some of my young students, the note reading, it can feel like a slog, like it's kind of, I was telling actually one of my students, she's in 3rd grade now, but she's still working on reading her notes on the stuff. And I told her, it's kind of like when you were in kindergarten learning to read a book. Like I remember my son, it just felt hard for a while. Like he was having to sound out the words and, there were words he couldn't figure out and it just felt hard. And now he's a voracious reader. He tears through the books, a few years later. So I was telling her, like, you just got to get through this sloggy time of learning to read the notes. So I think anything that can help make that a little more fun. Actually, why don't we start there? What are some of your favorite apps for note reading?
My absolute all-time favorite is NoteRush. I was one of the beta testers back in the day when NoteRush was first invented. So Thomas Grayson is an absolutely wonderful gentleman that created this app because it works in conjunction with the piano. So it works through your device's microphone and it recognizes the app. So NoteRush has preset levels and also the option for teachers to customize the level. So if your student is particularly stuck on a few notes, you can create this custom level and just drill those notes, which I've greatly appreciated. And this also helps when you teach using landmark notes. Like I teach a lot using like treble G, middle C, and bass F. So then we graduate from those notes to going, okay, here's the note above treble G and the note below treble G. This is the note above middle C, the note below middle C, the note above bass F, the note below bass F. And then we eventually graduate to level 1 note rush. This has become a seriously addictive app in my studio. Students are competing against each other on a weekly basis. It's fantastic to see who gets high score. I still have a few suggestions for Thomas because I'd love to have some individual user profiles or maybe attach the high score to the name of a student. But I screenshot the high scores and keep track of it in my photo album. So that's the absolute favorite.
Okay, so explain the microphone thing. So the student plays the note on the piano and the app knows what note they're playing. Is that how it works?
Precisely. And the app will not go on to the next note until the correct note has been played on the piano. So you can be stuck for a while if you don't play the correct note. There is also a setting within the app to add hints, which is wonderful to prevent absolute frustration. You can turn hints on or off, depending on the level of the student. Sometimes I have hints on, sometimes off. So that's nice just as they're getting introduced. And it works now, I believe, for iOS and Android. I was in the iOS beta tester, but he's got it working for Android now. iPad, iPhone, it all works.
Okay. And you can use an acoustic piano, right? It doesn't have to be
acoustic, digital. He's now got it actually working for other instruments. I think it works for trombone, guitar, I believe. There's a number of wind instruments also, so it adjusts to the transposition, but it does not work if your instrument is drastically out of tune.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that makes sense.
So hint, hint to students to tune their piano if you want to work with Note Rush.
That's right. Otherwise, you're going to have to adjust manually for the out of tuneness, right? Okay, so Note Rush is your favorite. Tell me some of your other favorite apps for beginners.
Rhythm Swing is primarily a favorite because it displays rhythms on the screen that you have to tap to in conjunction with a backing track. And you can select kind of the note values that you want to drill, and it builds. So it has a first section on very simplistic note values like quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, and whole notes. Sorry to my British folks, I don't know those in Britain.
That's okay. I don't either.
So you would start there, and then it builds from quarter notes, and then the half note level includes quarter notes. And there's backing tracks of different speeds, and there's always a count-in of like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, ready, go kind of idea. And the student has to spontaneously adjust to the speed of the music, and going, quarter notes are not just a specific speed, they're a relative speed. And the backing tracks, there's about 4 different ones per level. So it works out quite nicely that way.
And that was Rhythm Swing? Is that what you said?
Rhythm Swing, yes. And if it's like an absolute beginner, like Hop to It's kind of cute because that's based on like repeat note steps and skips, or a Leap. So that just works on the terminology as opposed to any music on the staff. And Interval Jump is kind of neat because it starts with just basic intervals of like a second or a third, and then progresses in levels to bigger and bigger intervals.
I would love to ask you about boom cards. So I have dabbled in boom cards, and I found them to be not very user-friendly. Can you talk to me about boom cards? Am I missing something here?
I think it largely depends on the creator of the card deck, because I have purchased quite a few card decks by Kelly Bordeaux. I believe I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. And I have found those very easy to use because she repeats the instruction a couple times in the first few cards that you use. And then after that, it's assumed, okay, you understand how it's going. I found her layouts to be very simplistic, her concepts to be very clear. In terms of students practicing them at home, that depends on the student and the family.
Yeah, I think that's what I've found is the parents can't get past like, oh, we have to have a password and an account, all this different things that I've never gotten my students to use them at home. We can use them in the lessons when I can sign them in and all of that. So I'm sure there are families who can figure it out.
I'd agree pretty much to your statement. They're easy for me to use as a teacher because I know how. Some classrooms in the schools around my studio do use boom cards for school purposes. So the kids already have that account. They're already familiar with how it's used. But they've been very, very good in class. And sometimes if I can show the parent how useful they are in the lesson, it might be worth the hassle. But I have to say the games from Vibrant Music Teaching are much easier to lend and have the students play at home.
Okay. Are those digital games or?
Those are physical games, like board games, decks of cards, races along the piano, that kind of idea. So yeah, I cut out and laminate all of those and have little eraser tokens that I put in a little Ziploc bag that the student takes home.
Oh, nice. So they borrow it for a week or something to take home?
Yeah, I have a lending library. I have over 260 games now.
Oh my goodness.
Which is a little intense, but awesome because every concept that's introduced, I have games for. Some topics have a few more games than others. Some students need more games on a topic than others. So
I have to ask you, how do you organize it?
I have a drawer system, like a cabinet of drawers, and every game is organized by theme. So if a game is focused on teaching intervals, it goes in the interval drawer. I have a drawer for basic music reading, like bass F to treble G. So those 9 notes. Then I have a drawer for treble C to bass C, and then full staff. I have a drawer for scales, chords, modes. So every drawer has a theme, even like intro to piano. It's like, here are just the names of the alphabet. Let's go forwards and backwards with the names of the letters, or what letter is in between these 2 letters. So yeah, filing cabinet with drawers, and then a lending library. And I also have, to keep me organized, I print out pages with little stars on them, and inside the stars is the name of the game, and the page theme matches the drawer theme in my cabinet. So I'd have intro to grand staff and all like 12 stars with 12 game titles, and that's what we would color when the game is completed.
Oh my goodness, I need you to come here and organize my life. But that sounds amazing. Wow, good for you. Okay. Back to the apps. I was getting distracted by your game organization. Talk to me. One of the ones on the list that I was not familiar with was Music Clock. Music Clock? Music Clock? I don't know.
Yeah, the guess of pronunciation is the best. It's like music and the word clock kind of combined into one word. So Music Clock is how I say it, but maybe that's not how it should be said. I don't know. It's music and clock, just combine the words. It is an app that provides backing tracks to improvise with or practice with, and you can customize the scale and the style of music. So you could do like A minor scale with maybe a jazzy backing track. So it would have this backing track that would work very, very well with the notes of the A minor scale, and it displays on the screen a picture of the keyboard with the notes of the A minor scale highlighted. And it also has a little wheel with the notes of the A minor scale displayed, like in a circle. The clock.
The clock.
The clock.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then you can rotate the wheel, and then that would move your music up a half step or another half step or another half step. So that's their like clock. But the backing tracks are fabulous because it makes scales much more exciting. It kind of fills the voids of students that want to improvise but have a blank space or like a blank canvas, and this gives them a backing track of like, oh, I can get a hold of that groove, that's cool. And then it also exposes them to new scales, including me too. I had no idea what a dominant bebop scale was, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got to learn, so the students get to see these other scales that they might not know. And they're like, oh, the whole tone scale. What's that? So in a sense, it's educational too.
Yeah. Okay. So you can use it to practice or play scales or improvise on those scales. Okay. Nice. Very good. Okay. I noticed you put Flash Note Derby on the honorable mention list. That's one I know. That's one that I actually do use. I feel like it's just so easy to pull out. Now I don't know. It feels a little basic, I guess, but I kind of like it because I don't have to go into a long explanation. I don't have to do much setup. I just open it and we practice our note names. Tell me about Flash Note Derby. I know that was one when I posted in that Facebook group. That was one that came up a lot as a favorite.
Yeah, so in my top 5 apps, I wanted to have a variety of concepts presented that should a teacher only want to purchase a limited number of apps, that they have an app on rhythm, an app on note reading, etc. So that's why Flash Note Derby got the bump to honorable mention, because Note Rush beat it. Sorry. So I still like it. All the honorable mention apps I still use. I just thought I'd put the top 5 there. So yes, I like Flash Note Derby. I'm not against it whatsoever. It is a frequently used app also, just not as frequent as Note Rush, because I like Flash Note Derby that it has user profiles. So I can set that up on my iPad, that we can have continuity from lesson to lesson, where we left off, what notes we're adding. It is a pretty quick game that, if we're only drilling 3 notes, it's going to be over in 30 seconds kind of idea. Whereas Note Rush, if you commit to level 1, well, maybe level 1 takes 7 seconds, but maybe level 1 takes a minute because your student's not so great at notes.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So this is kind of a fast and easy one. So yes, I like it. It's okay.
Okay.
just to make that clear. It's on the honorable mention. I still like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that I can choose a certain notes to put in the race, I guess. Because sometimes my students, they just need to drill 3 notes. That's where they're at. So yeah, it's good.
And that's wonderful. But then students also kind of figure out how to create their own custom level and go, oh, I'll just create a custom level, C and D, let's go. I'm like, really? So there's no way to lock the profile of I'm locking this, so you have to do this.
Uh-huh.
They like to take over and make their own, which is still beneficial. They still know C&D really well.
Yes. Well, we have to expand their little minds a little bit. All right. So I currently don't teach any teenagers, but are there apps? You said you use them mostly for age 14 and down. Are there any apps for the older kids that you would want to talk about?
Absolutely. I still use Note Rush for all the levels. All my students all the way up to the age of 70 use Note Rush. So the reason for my selection is that the graphics and the concepts presented are more suitable for teens and adults. So the app Tenuto is wonderful, that you can go into a little bit more theory. It does intervals, it does scales, it does chords. So key signatures, and it has age-appropriate graphics. Music Tutor is another good one, because that is a note recognition app where you don't need the piano. You can do this app. It's more like flashcards, as it were. You can adjust whether you play it in 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And it's an app that you can just do on your phone anywhere. So this is an app I encourage students to do when they have free time, waiting for the doctor, sitting at the bus stop, that kind of thing. It's wonderful because it doesn't make any noise either. Rhythm Cat, Treble Cat, and Bass Cat are on by the same creator. Rhythm Cat's to drill rhythms, and then Treble and Bass Cat are to drill notes. Now, those are more teenager apps. I wouldn't quite give them to adults, but they're okay for teens.
Okay. Are there any that you would recommend for adults? Like adult students, I guess, not like teachers.
Yeah, I would still go to Tenuto and Note Rush and Music Tutor primarily. The ones with Cat are more teens, but there's some overlap there for sure.
Gotcha. So there is a lot on your list, and we'll put the link to the list in the show notes so people can download it. If teachers are just starting to get their feet wet with this and maybe want to download an app or two, and they're budget conscious, what would you recommend? Where should they start?
I'd start probably with NoteRush and ForScore. NoteRush is great at note recognition, but I've particularly enjoyed ForScore, which we haven't talked about yet. ForScore is an app that can have annotations on the sheet music. So this is something I use on a fairly regular basis for my intermediate and advanced students primarily, because while I am listening to their piece, it's often too long for me to remember everything I want to say. So I have a copy of their music in the ForScore app, which I have scanned in, displayed on my iPad because the screen's big enough. This is not really a phone app. This is a tablet app. And with my stylus, aka Apple Pencil, I'm able to draw on the score in a variety of different colors. And then I can export the PDF to the student after the lesson so they can see all my notes, which, yes, I have explained to them, but just so they have a copy of things to work on that I need to annotate in their piece. This works great also for online lessons where I've connected my iPad to my computer and I can annotate music on the screen that I can also then share with my online student to then convey what to mark in, or I can increase the size of something to show them like, hey, I need you to play the G there, and that's not an A, and this is why.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea to mark it up and then you can share it. And then are your students typically still playing from paper sheet music, or do they actually play from an iPad?
I have all students playing from paper. In the past, I had one student that did iPad only because he needed the screen to be bright enough. And he just needed that additional light. And he was also super high tech and loved the Apple Pencil and the layers of annotation you could create in the ForScore app. And you can also airdrop your score to each other. So he could like airdrop stuff to me that he's learning. And then I would see his annotations in the score. So that was our super high tech. But I love books and paper. You can call me old fashioned and I'm okay with that.
I will not call you old fashioned because I love my books too. There are certain circumstances where I do use my iPad, like if I'm playing for like a wedding or something like that, where I need to have a whole bunch of songs, it's so much easier to just have them all on my iPad and play through them. I use ForScore as well for that, and just have them all in a set list rather than carrying. What I used to do is carry a big stack of books with me if I was going to play for an event, which I would much rather just make sure my iPad is charged up and then have them all in order and it's good to go. So that's how I use ForScore, but I like this idea of using it for teaching as well. And so then do they translate the notes from the PDF that you send them into their paper sheet music, I assume?
And that helps me also remember what I need to say during the lesson. And if I didn't get to all my comments, they at least have the annotations that they can take home with them. And I try to make my annotations quite clear, or like color code the annotations of like, this is note errors, this is phrasing, this is dynamics that you all need to fix, or it's clearly circled. So that works. And yes, I do perform with my iPad on occasion too. And I coordinate that with a Bluetooth page turner pedal.
Oh, good for you. I don't have the pedal yet. I should, I know, but I just haven't gotten to that point. Is there a pedal you recommend?
I think it's called Firefly. There's a number of different pedals out, but that one seems the most reliable, albeit I don't own that one, but I want to own that one.
Okay.
I have a different one, which is called, I think it's called Air Turn. It's all right, but the one I think it's called Firefly is more of a clear button. And it's functional also on carpet. Mine is not so great on carpet.
Okay. Does ForScore work with facial movements? Have you tried that?
I have not tried that.
I haven't either, but maybe someone can let us know. I've heard that you can do that, like wink at it or something, and it'll turn the page, but I have not experimented with it yet.
No, my left foot is quite good at coordinating pages, and I like that in the app that corresponds with my pedal, I can adjust how sensitive the pedal is. And if I've accidentally twitched my left foot, that it doesn't flip the page immediately if it doesn't wait a certain amount of time. For example, I might have twitched accidentally after turning my first page, and then it all of a sudden turns 2 or 3 pages. So it would wait to turn that second page for 10 to 20 seconds, because otherwise you don't have to flip you don't have the risk of flipping multiple consecutive pages.
Yes.
You make it wait.
Okay.
Because that is so high risk. If you turn the page and you didn't see that it actually turned, and you go to tap it again, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's turned 2. Oh my goodness, what an emergency.
It really is.
Yeah.
I did that. I was flipping my iPad with my finger because I don't have the paddle, and I turned. No, I think that I didn't get it swiped, and so it didn't turn. And then I'm like panicking, and then I can't turn because I'm in a panic, and it's not a good look.
Yeah, so if you're going to perform with the iPad and the pedal, do practice that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What is the app that you use most in your studio? Is it NoteRush? I'm going to guess.
Yeah, it is NoteRush and ForScore. But for my own practicing, I've really enjoyed the app called Polynome, because as an advanced pianist, I encounter a lot of polyrhythms between my fingers and my hands. And Polynome is a wonderful app, albeit it's a bit of a learning curve to use at first, admittedly, but you can program it to have many, many measures of different rhythms that you can customize yourself. And you can have multiple layers of rhythms that it can play at once. So you can program like triplets in the right hand and eighth notes in the left, and it will play both of those rhythms using the same or different sounds. You can do quintuplets, you can do septuplets, you can do like whatever rhythms you want simultaneously to be played. And you can program the sounds it plays, you can program how many loops of said rhythm it does. It has a practice log that you can record for each piece that you're working on to keep track of the speeds that you've achieved in the piece, how much time you've spent on the piece, what you were doing in the rhythms. So like I've programmed whatever, like Chopin Nocturne measures 15 and 16, and then I have it loop those rhythms with the right hand rhythm, the left hand rhythm, and then it keeps track of my speed. You can also have it increase the speed after a certain number of repetitions that it's looped through those rhythms. So I have found that such an asset for myself and advanced pianists alike.
Yeah. So is it playing the rhythm and you play along, or you listen, and how does it work? Both? Okay.
Yeah, so you can customize it and just listen to it tap, and then you can play along. It's very much like a metronome. So it doesn't record your playing or how accurate your playing was. That's your responsibility. But it does record how much time you've spent on the app. So you can be like, well, I was drilling this rhythm for 10 minutes. I should stop.
Yeah. Or I should be better than this by now.
Maybe. We're not going to make negative commentary on ourselves,
That's
right?
We're not going to judge ourselves. That sounds really helpful. I actually saw a post in a Facebook group recently, where the person was like, what do I do with this rhythm? Because it was like you were saying, like sextuplets or something in the right hand and 16s in the left hand, something like that. And like, it's so hard to wrap our brains around those sometimes. You just need, like you say, an app that will.
And it can slow down to like, I think it's 20 BPM or something ridiculous like that. You can really hear how those polyrhythms work.
That's cool. I like that.
They're really decoded. So that's been wonderful. I also have the IMSLP app. For those that don't know, imslp.org is a website that has like public domain sheet music. And within the app, you can create folders by composers. You can annotate your music in the app. So that's been wonderful to access that.
I didn't realize they had an app. So you have access to all of the IMSLP scores within the app?
Within the app, and you can create folders and organize your set lists and such there.
Can you download them and put them in ForScore?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
It goes really fast that way.
Okay. Cool. I'll have to look into that. Wow, I'm learning so much.
Yeah, SuperScore is another app, albeit most of that is paid content, and more publishers are becoming part of SuperScore. But I've purchased the Piano Safari like sight reading cards through SuperScore, so I can sometimes use those in online lessons to display that on the screen, easier than holding up a card for the student or having to scan all the cards to do in an online lesson. So that works really well that I can screen share SuperScore. Some other publishers in there too, but I'm just promoting Piano Safari.
Okay. There you go. We love Piano Safari.
We do. We do. We need that love is genuine.
Yes. So are most of these apps paid apps? Is it like a one-time fee or a subscription? What would you say about most of the ones we've talked about today?
Most of the ones are a one-time fee, albeit some are a little more pricey than others. Like Polynome is definitely a pricey app, but I've literally had this app for 10 years and the upgrades are free to it, or at least they were free. I've never been charged for upgrades, so it's wonderful. And I think NoteRush is getting up there also, but if we compare it to a Starbucks coffee, NoteRush is like a grande, and maybe Polynome is two of them.
Okay.
So not too bad here. That's how I also convey this sometimes to parents when they go, "Oh my goodness, $4 for an app?" I'm like, but you also spend $7 on a Starbucks coffee.
Right. You're holding it right now. I can see it in your hand.
So if you can do $7 for a coffee that you consume once, you can do $4 for an app that your kid will use for the next, whatever, 4 to 6 months, or maybe life, like Polynome, 10 years. So we're into under 1 cent a month even for Polynome.
Right. I know. I think it pained me to pay $10 for ForScore whenever that was. I don't know how much it is now, but I think it was like $10 and maybe another 10 for the Apple Pencil thing. I don't know, but I've used it so much. Like, I mean, come on.
So these are investments. So that's why in my list of apps, the top 5 are the ones I suggest teachers get first. And you can just go gradually, like one at a time, and then get the honorable mention ones. So my app library has built extensively through the years, and students love them. I have students that might not want to play, board games or that kind of thing, but they love competing with each other in like the app called Ningenius, which is a very theory-focused app. And there's like belts that you need to achieve because it's very like karate based, and you have to master 5 concepts to then be able to take your belt test.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So you can have individual student profiles in there. So students like to kind of spy on each other and being like, "Oh, so has Kate achieved blue belt yet? No, but it looks like she's getting stronger at the concepts needed, so she might be taking that blue belt test soon. Oh, I better beat her. Okay, I'm going to take the blue belt test because I have to get blue belt done before Kate." So that's where it's a bit fun, and sometimes students are introduced to new concepts in the app that they haven't yet been introduced to in a theory book, or maybe they don't have a theory book because they really despise theory, and this is how I kind of put a little theory in their lives.
Yes.
So they're like, "What are these hashtag things?" I'm like, "Those are called sharps." And let's talk about them because you need to know them to pass your Ningenius level. Oh, okay. So then we start talking about hashtags, and then I go on a rant that hashtags are different than sharps. They look different, where the horizontal lines are and the vertical lines are, which ones are on an angle, and then forevermore they separate the two concepts, and it's no longer F hashtag. Part of me,
I love it.
guys inside.
Oh, Sarah. Okay. So we're getting to the end here. And we mentioned at the beginning that you offered some other resources for teachers. I would love for you to just Give us a little overview what you offer besides the freebie about apps for that teachers might be interested in.
Yeah, I have a few freebies, one of which is guide for finding a first piano for students. So sometimes a new student will come to your studio without an instrument. So I have a guide to help teachers give this to their students to say, okay, these are, the budget friendly ones, you now have a bit more of a budget ones, and the super pricey ones, just to distinguish between what is a keyboard, what's a digital piano, what's an acoustic piano, and what's a grand, and kind of the budgets to expect in each of them. I have as a freebie my activity organizers that I was just mentioning earlier about the little stars and the units that match my drawers. So that'll give you an idea of what kind of concepts I focus on with students. And then you can customize that. It's a Canva template, so you can put in your own games from wherever you find it. I also have the final freebie is 4 tips for starting your own piano studio. So this helps brand new teachers with kind of the things that they should have before starting in terms of items in their studio. It helps for advertising, where to go for advertising, and maybe the consideration of having a mentor. Now, yes, I mentioned my own services as a coach, which I do on a fairly regular basis, but there might be somebody else you trust more, and that's totally okay. But having a coach when you first start out. I have a newsletter for teachers as well that comes out once or twice a month. And yeah, of course, I have my advanced piano technique book with the intermediate and the elementary on their way to be released probably within the next 8 months. They're written right now, but they are just going through editing.
Okay, got it. Great. Well, maybe we'll have to have you back when those come out.
Sure.
Well, tell listeners where they can find all of these great resources.
So they're all on my website, which is sarahmolenaar.com. For those listeners that are not viewing, that are just listening, it's Sarah, Sarah, and then my last name, Molenaar, Molenaar.
Great.com. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that listeners learned a lot in this episode. So I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode today. One of the things that I love about hosting this podcast is that I learned so much from my guests. I'm sure I've said that before, but this episode was no exception. If you have been inspired by the podcast or learned some new ideas or concepts, I would encourage you to share it with a piano teacher friend who might not know about top music. Of course, if you are listening to this podcast, you likely also listen to Tim Topham's Topcast. So we have 2 episodes each week here at Top Music to help you become the best piano teacher you can be. So it would mean the world to us if you would share those with a friend. Thank you so much for listening. That's the end of the show for this week. I'm Rachel Ehring, and you've been listening to the Top Music Piano Podcast. I'll talk with you again next week.
How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support, and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today.